OBODY touched this abandoned flagship. I bought it for 3 credits and silenced every last doubter. Ryan Tavek had a habit of looking where no one else dared. Most people avoided the outer rims of the galaxy, claiming them dangerous or worthless. But Ryan knew that the greatest treasures were always hidden in plain sight, or more often, in places that everyone else called abandoned. The floating wrecks of old alien ships drifted silently in the black emptiness, untouched for centuries. Most scavengers had stories about them, ghost ships, cursed vessels, traps set by long-dead civilizations. Yet when Ryan's scanner blinked with a faint signature, he felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years. It was a flagship. Massive. Enormous even by the standards of the ancient Zalorians. Its hull was dark, coated with layers of dust and space debris. Broken panels revealed glimpses of strange, glowing circuits beneath. A ship this size, in the heart of the uncharted expanse, should have been priceless. The galactic market was buzzing with rumors. Too dangerous, the traders said. Nothing survives on that ship, the smug smugglers added. Abandon it, burn it, don't touch it. But Ryan smiled. That was exactly why he wanted it. He had only 3 credits left in his account. Barely enough for a day's rations in the nearest spaceport. But the auction system was quirky, old, and automated. No one else had dared to bid. He clicked. 1, 2, 3 credits. Done. The system confirmed the abandoned flagship was his. The nearby stations erupted with laughter. 3 credits, a trader snorted over the comlink. You bought a death trap for less than a cup of synth coffee? Ryan didn't respond. He didn't need to. He had a feeling, an instinct humans seemed to have better than anyone else, that this ship was not what it seemed. He approached it carefully. The ship's size was intimidating, stretching hundreds of meters across the void. Its design was unlike any human or alien craft he had ever seen. Angular yet smooth, its hull shimmered faintly when it caught the light of distant stars. It looked alive. Docking was tricky. The docking clamps on this relic were old, nearly fused shut with rust. Ryan's hands moved with precision, checking each mechanism, testing each seal. Patience was required. One wrong move could leave him floating outside the hull forever. Finally, with a satisfying hiss, the clamps engaged. Ryan floated inside the docking bay, pushing off gently against the walls. The silence was deafening. Not even the hum of the ship's engines stirred. He flicked on his portable lights. Dust motes danced in the air like tiny stars, illuminated by his narrow beam. The interior was vast. Corridors stretched in multiple directions, some curved like tunnels, others angular like the sharp edges of alien architecture. Panels were cracked or missing, revealing wiring that pulsed faintly with alien energy. Symbols lined the walls, glowing faintly, and Ryan wondered what secrets they held. "All right," he muttered to himself, a grin tugging at his lips. "Let's see what you've been hiding." He activated the main hatch interface. Nothing. The ship's systems were dead, or at least that's what they seemed. Ryan knelt, running his hands over the control panel. Unlike humans, the ancient Zalorian tech didn't respond to voice commands or standard touch. It required pattern recognition, a kind of thinking that came naturally to humans because of their creativity. Hours passed. Ryan tested sequences, touched panels in patterns that seemed random, listened to the faint vibrations beneath his fingers. Other scavengers might have left at this point, calling it hopeless. But Ryan's mind worked differently. He imagined the ship as a puzzle rather than a machine. At last, a flicker of light appeared. A single green line traced along a console, pulsing rhythmically. The ship's AI was waking, not fully, just enough to notice him. Ryan grinned. "Got you." The light spread slowly, illuminating more of the vast interior. Hallways that had seemed endless now revealed doors, chambers, and observation decks. The air was stale but breathable, recycled from systems still humming faintly in the background. He explored carefully. In one chamber he found storage bays full of supplies, some broken, some intact. Alien food, water purification packs, strange energy crystals. It wasn't much, but it confirmed something. This ship hadn't been abandoned due to lack of resources. Something else had driven its crew away. As he moved deeper, he noticed the signs of intelligence. Strange murals decorated the walls, depicting scenes of galaxies, star systems, and ships. Symbols he didn't understand ran in flowing patterns, telling stories he couldn't yet read. It was beautiful, in a way humans rarely saw in alien technology. Then he reached the bridge. It was enormous, with a panoramic view of the stars. The captain's chair sat empty, dust-coated, but with a faint impression where someone had sat for years. Consoles lined the walls, blinking faintly with power. The main screen flickered weakly. Ryan activated the interface with careful precision. The screen lit up fully, showing star maps, system data, and ship diagnostics. The ship's AI hummed, recognizing him not as a threat but as a pilot. "You have awakened the Flagship," a voice said in a tone that was calm, almost reverent. The voice wasn't human, but it didn't alarm him. "Systems offline for centuries, awaiting operator." Ryan laughed softly. "Well, lucky me, huh?" The AI responded with streams of data, symbols he could not yet read. But as he explored the controls, he realized something amazing. The ship was not just a vessel. It was a repository, a vault of knowledge, technology, and history spanning thousands of years. Ryan leaned back in the captain's chair, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. For centuries, humans had been dismissed by other species as weak, small, and insignificant. Here he was, a single human, piloting a ship no one else dared touch. He was about to prove that curiosity, creativity, and courage could rival even the most advanced civilizations. Yet, for all its wonder, the ship was still mysterious. Why had it been abandoned? What had happened to its crew? Ryan had no answers yet, only possibilities. He decided he would start exploring, chamber by chamber, console by console, unraveling the secrets of the Flagship. Hours passed as he tested each system. Doors that had been locked for centuries slid open at his touch. Energy flowed through conduits that had lain dormant. Lights flickered, then stabilized, bathing the interior in a soft glow. For the first time in a very long time, the ship felt alive. The outside world would doubt him, traders would scoff, scavengers would whisper that he was mad, but Ryan didn't care. He had always known that humans thrived in places others feared. While other species followed rules and protocols, humans improvised, experimented, and imagined. That was their strength. As the artificial sun of a nearby star peeked through the viewport, Ryan sat back, tired but exhilarated. This was just the beginning. The abandoned Flagship had been silent for centuries, untouched and feared. Now it had a human at its helm. And something told him that the galaxy would never be the same. Ryan Tavak woke to the gentle hum of the Flagship beneath him. The ship was alive, yet quiet. It wasn't a war machine anymore. It was a sleeping giant filled with untold stories, waiting for someone to listen. Ryan stretched, rubbing his tired eyes. The bridge, still bathed in the soft glow of alien lights, looked different in daylight. Shadows that had seemed ominous yesterday now looked like invitations, paths to explore, mysteries to solve. He moved back to the main console. Hundreds of screens blinked faintly, showing systems that hadn't been active for centuries. Ryan leaned over the controls, examining the data with curiosity and determination. The AI voice, calm and patient, spoke again. "Human operator, systems detected. You are unique." "Unique, huh?" Ryan said with a smile. "Guess that's what happens when no one else has the guts to try." The AI paused, almost as if considering the words. Then it hummed, guiding him toward the ship's core system. Ryan's heart raced. The core was the brain of the Flagship, the place where every secret, every protocol, and every memory of the ship's existence was stored. Other species had tried before, millions of attempts recorded in the ship's data. Every probe, every drone, every AI that tried to access the core had failed. The data was too complex, too alien, too unpredictable. But humans didn't follow predictable patterns. They explored, experimented, and imagined. That was their advantage. Ryan ran his hands over the interface, tracing lines of symbols he didn't understand. At first, the screen stayed dark. Then he began to notice patterns, repeating sequences that reminded him of human puzzles. A touch here, a swipe there, a pause in the rhythm. Slowly, the ship responded. Lights flickered in the corridors, then stabilized. A soft hum spread through the vessel as energy began to flow properly. Systems that had been dormant for centuries came online. Storage bays opened automatically, revealing supplies, food, water purification units, energy cells. Not much for him, but enough to survive. "Looks like you like humans after all," Ryan muttered. He explored the living quarters next. They were vast, luxurious even, but abandoned. Alien personal items floated in zero gravity, preserved in time. Instruments, ornaments, books written in scripts he could not yet read. The murals on the walls told stories of the crew's travels, exploring galaxies, discovering new worlds, charting unknown stars. Ryan paused in front of one mural. It depicted a massive nebula, colors swirling, stars forming and dying. Humans had never seen art like this. He traced the lines with his fingers, imagining the alien hands that had drawn them. Somehow the ship itself seemed to be telling him, "Welcome, discover me." He moved to the engineering section. Ancient machinery hummed faintly, waiting for his touch. Ryan crouched in front of a console, his fingers dancing over the panels. Unlike most aliens, humans could improvise. Where others relied on strict protocols, Ryan tried combinations that made no sense on paper. Sometimes randomness solved the puzzle. A sudden burst of light filled the room as a section of the ship came fully online. Ryan stepped back, blinking. Displays filled with complex graphs and energy flows mapped the entire flagship. The AI spoke again, its tone almost reverent. "You have awakened more than systems. You have begun the process of understanding." "What do you mean, understanding?" Ryan asked. "The ship is more than a vessel," the AI said. "It contains knowledge, art, history, and technology spanning thousands of cycles. Most species could not comprehend it. You may." Ryan felt a thrill. He had suspected the flagship was special, but this was beyond anything he could imagine. The ship was a library, a repository of civilizations long gone, waiting for someone brave and clever enough to unlock it. For hours, Ryan worked. He discovered rooms full of holographic maps, detailing stars and planets humans had never seen. Some maps showed entire civilizations long extinct. He found energy systems that could power entire colonies. He discovered alien medical devices capable of repairing tissue instantly. The more he explored, the more he realized the galaxy had underestimated humans. Other species relied on strict procedures, trying to understand the ship like a machine. Ryan approached it like a story, a puzzle, a mystery. Curiosity guided him more than logic, and human curiosity was relentless. Later, he entered a chamber that looked like a library. Holographic books floated in midair, glowing softly. Ryan touched one. Instantly, symbols translated into a language he could read, or at least a version the AI adapted for him. It was incredible. Histories of star systems, philosophies of ancient aliens, even records of inventions humans hadn't dreamed of. "This is amazing," Ryan whispered. He spent hours reading, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. He realized that this ship, abandoned for centuries, had been waiting for someone to appreciate it. By the time the ship's internal lights dimmed to simulate night, Ryan had begun to map its systems in his mind. He had activated navigation controls, learned to operate the energy reactors, and even unlocked small defense protocols, though they were more for protection than harm. The flagship was responding to him, as if it had been waiting for a human mind all along. The AI's voice echoed softly. "You are unlike others. You see patterns where others see chaos. You improvise, adapt. You understand." Ryan smiled. "You've got that right." Suddenly, a calm alert blinked. Holographic screens displayed images of small scout ships from nearby systems. Other species had noticed activity from the flagship. Their eyes were filled with doubt, fear, curiosity, and envy. They had expected Ryan to fail. They had expected the ship to reject him. He ignored them for now. There was too much to explore. He had found a room filled with alien instruments designed to record and translate sounds across galaxies. He tried them out, sending small signals and receiving recordings from thousands of light years away. Music, voices, ambient sounds, all preserved perfectly, the ship was alive with history. As hours turned into cycles, Ryan realized the flagship was more than metal and circuits. It was a time capsule, a museum, a library, and a puzzle. He paused on the bridge, gazing at the stars. Humans were small, frail, often dismissed. Yet here he was, alone on a flagship no other species dared touch. He smiled at the thought. Humans thrived where others hesitated. Where others obeyed rules, humans created. Where others feared, humans explored. That was their strength. By the end of the day, he had made progress that would have taken alien species decades. Every system he unlocked, every symbol he translated, silenced the doubters across the galaxy. The flagship, abandoned and feared, was awakening because of one human's courage, curiosity, and ingenuity. As Ryan lay down in one of the sleeping chambers, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The ship had secrets, yes, but they were slowly revealing themselves. And he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would watch, the skeptics would whisper, but humans, persistent, clever, and adaptable, would shine. Outside, stars streaked past as the flagship drifted silently through the void. Inside, a human mind worked tirelessly, connecting systems, decoding knowledge, and proving to the galaxy that humans could achieve what others could only dream of. The ship's AI, quiet now, seemed almost content. "You may be the one," it whispered. Ryan smiled in the darkness, ready for what came next. The galaxy had heard rumors. A human had bought an abandoned Zalorian flagship for 3 credits. No one expected him to survive, let alone unlock its systems. Doubters whispered across trade stations, academies, and observation decks. "Impossible! A human cannot control that ship." Ryan Tavak, floating through the flagship's corridors, ignored them. He was far beyond skepticism now. The ship responded to him as if it recognized his presence. Systems that had lain dormant for centuries were humming, lights glowing gently along the corridors, and panels activating under his hands. Word traveled quickly. A small fleet of curious observers arrived, drones and ships sent by alien scholars, explorers, and smugglers. None dared board. They hovered at a distance, scanning the vessel, watching for disaster. Their sensors detected energy spikes and movement, but not life forms. No one had dared approach before. Humans were supposed to fail. Ryan was ready to prove them wrong. He activated the flagship's main observation deck. The AI interfaced with him, translating streams of alien symbols into forms he could understand. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, projecting the ship's records, star maps, and archives. Ryan ran his hands across the panels. A sequence of taps and swipes brought up the ship's historical logs. Holographic figures of alien crew members appeared, frozen in time. He traced their motions, learning patterns, understanding routines. The flagship was more than a ship, it was a living memory. The fleet of observers outside hummed in anticipation, curious to see what a human could do. Their monitors reflected confusion and disbelief as Ryan accessed systems that no alien had ever activated. "Come on, let's see what secrets you're hiding," Ryan whispered to the AI. The first revelation came quickly. Holographic chambers lit up throughout the ship, revealing collections of knowledge from extinct civilizations. Star maps detailing planets lost to time, technologies never rediscovered, and scientific discoveries far beyond current understanding glowed in midair. Ryan began translating them into human-readable formats. The AI assisted, running algorithms that converted alien data into something comprehensible. Slowly, he built a map of knowledge that would astound the galaxy. Outside, the observers watched in awe as energy patterns, lights, and signals pulsed through the flagship. Every sequence Ryan executed revealed more of the ship's secrets. A storage bay opened, releasing holographic simulations of alien inventions, tools capable of purifying air instantly, devices that could harvest energy directly from stars, and medical systems that repaired organic tissue without surgery. The doubters whispered among themselves. "How is a human doing this? This ship should have destroyed him long ago," Ryan chuckled. Humans were clever, adaptive, and creative. Other species relied on strict protocols, but humans experimented, imagined, and improvised. Where other civilizations saw chaos, humans saw opportunity. That was their strength, and it was on full display now. Next, he explored the ship's communication systems. Holographic channels appeared, showing networks that spanned the galaxy. Messages from civilizations long extinct floated across the display. He could hear voices, music, and ambient sounds preserved for thousands of cycles. Ryan carefully curated them, allowing the observers outside to witness them as well. A melody filled the void of space. It was soft, strange, beautiful. Notes formed patterns that resonated with the human mind in a way the alien species outside did not expect. The music told stories of exploration, struggle, and discovery. The observers gasped. They had expected a catastrophe, but instead they witnessed art, history, and knowledge brought to life by a single human mind. Ryan smiled. He had only just begun. The flagship's core systems revealed a massive energy grid capable of powering entire colonies. He accessed it, routing small amounts of energy to experimental devices within the ship. Lights shimmered across the hull, and holographic projections of ancient machinery activated. A holographic star system appeared. Planets formed in orbit, each glowing softly. Ryan traced their paths, noting civilizations that had existed and perished. The AI provided translations, explaining the purposes of each system, each technology. He realized the ship was not abandoned because it was dangerous. It had been waiting for someone curious enough to understand it. Ryan activated the flagship's navigation system. With a series of commands, he brought the ship to life. Thrusters that had not fired in centuries roared softly, pushing the flagship through space with elegant precision. Outside, the observers noted the ship's movements, graceful, controlled, and completely non-threatening. "Humans are underestimated," Ryan muttered to himself. "Always underestimated." He activated a chamber filled with holographic classrooms. Ancient species had designed educational systems within the ship. Ryan explored them, learning lessons about physics, mathematics, history, and art from civilizations long gone. He recorded everything, translating it into formats humans could understand. The observers could not believe what they were seeing. The human had accessed archives, powered systems, translated alien languages, and activated complex educational simulations, all without violence, all without destruction. Ryan decided to demonstrate the flagship's full potential. He brought up a simulation of a galaxy-wide event, an energy phenomenon that had baffled civilizations for centuries. The flagship projected it in perfect detail, showing causes, effects, and outcomes. Ryan guided the simulation, explaining insights in real time. The observers' comms crackled with amazement. This human understands it," one of them whispered. "No species could have activated the archives like this." For Ryan, it was exhilarating. Every human trait, curiosity, adaptability, imagination, had proven more valuable than brute force or rigid logic. The flagship, long abandoned and feared, had become a stage for human ingenuity. As cycles passed, Ryan explored deeper. He found archives of diplomacy, art, and culture. Stories of extinct civilizations, their triumphs, their failures, and their wisdom filled the flagship's chambers. Ryan curated these stories, arranging them into exhibitions for any visitor who would come. The flagship was no longer abandoned. It was alive with knowledge and culture, and Ryan was its steward. By the time the galaxy's observers had returned to their stations, disbelief had turned into awe. Messages of praise, curiosity, and respect began to arrive. Humans, once considered small and weak, were now recognized as capable, resourceful, and intelligent. Ryan stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. The flagship hummed beneath him, its lights pulsing in harmony with his heartbeat. He had silenced the doubters, not with power, not with weapons, but with intelligence, creativity, and determination. He realized the galaxy would never doubt humans again, not after this. And somewhere deep in the ship, the AI whispered softly, almost in admiration, "You are exceptional. You understand the galaxy in ways others cannot. Perhaps humans are meant to explore, preserve, and create." Ryan smiled, leaning back in the captain's chair. This was only the beginning. The flagship held more secrets, more knowledge, more wonders than he could imagine. And he, a single human, had awakened it. The observers outside had witnessed the impossible. A human had turned an abandoned, feared flagship into a living archive, a museum of civilizations, and a hub of knowledge. The galaxy was watching, and humans had finally shown their true potential. Ryan took a deep breath. Tomorrow, he would explore more chambers, translate more archives, unlock more systems. The flagship was vast, infinite in its knowledge, and he intended to master every part of it. The stars outside shimmered, and Ryan realized the flagship had chosen him, not just as a pilot, but as a bridge between past civilizations and the future of humanity. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the galaxy whispered, "Humans, they are different." Ryan Tavek stood on the bridge of the flagship, gazing out at the glittering stars. The ship had been silent for centuries, untouched and feared by every species in the galaxy. Now it pulsed with life, humming beneath him as systems flowed seamlessly. Every light, every console, every holographic display acknowledged his presence, not as an intruder, but as a master. Messages still poured in from the fleet of observers who had once doubted him. Scientists, explorers, and diplomats all marveled at what one human had accomplished. A human had activated the abandoned flagship, unlocked centuries of knowledge, and turned a feared relic into a living archive. Ryan smiled. He knew the truth. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Where other species relied on rigid rules, humans thrived on curiosity, adaptability, and creativity. Where others hesitated in fear, humans explored. That had been their advantage all along, and the flagship was proof. The first step was to share the flagship's treasures. Ryan activated a series of projection chambers, creating a massive holographic gallery. Alien civilizations, art, music, and inventions filled the room. Stories of extinct species floated in the air, preserved in perfect clarity. He curated everything carefully, translating the knowledge into forms humans could understand without losing its original meaning. Outside the flagship, alien observers watched in awe. They had expected chaos, failure, or disaster. Instead, they witnessed beauty, ingenuity, and intelligence. Humans, they realized, were capable of much more than they had been given credit for. Ryan tapped a panel, activating the flagship's communication network. Across light years, the ship sent out invitations, messages of peace, collaboration, and learning. "Come," the transmissions read. "Explore, learn, share. Humanity has awakened the flagship." Within hours, small ships began to arrive, not with weapons or demands, but with curiosity. Aliens of many species floated through the airlocks, stepping cautiously into the massive vessel. Ryan greeted them with a calm confidence that humans seemed to possess naturally. "This is incredible," one alien scholar whispered, her tentacles trembling as she touched a holographic archive. "I never imagined a human could do this." Ryan shrugged modestly. "I just followed my curiosity," he said. "The ship has so much to teach, and I wanted to understand it." The AI spoke softly, almost in agreement. "Humans see patterns, humans adapt, humans create. Perhaps humans are meant to explore." Ryan had never considered himself a hero. He was just a curious human who had dared to touch what others feared. But now, watching scholars, explorers, and diplomats walk through the flagship, he realized something bigger was happening. Humans were no longer small, insignificant creatures in the eyes of the galaxy. They were innovators, explorers, and preservers of knowledge. The flagship itself seemed to recognize this. Energy flowed in harmony, lights pulsed gently, and the ship's systems responded faster and more smoothly than ever before. It was as if the vessel approved of Ryan's stewardship. He led the visitors through the ship's chambers. In one room, holograms of alien inventions hovered in midair. He demonstrated a device that harvested energy directly from a nearby star, explaining how humans could use the technology to power colonies without harming the environment. The aliens watched in amazement, taking notes and recording every detail. In another chamber, he showcased musical archives. Alien melodies intertwined with human interpretations, creating a new form of art. Scholars from different species nodded in appreciation, realizing that humans could connect with cultures that were long gone, interpreting them with empathy and creativity. This human," one observer murmured to another. "He bridges past and future, species and civilizations." Ryan felt a sense of pride, but also responsibility. The flagship was a treasure, and he could not hoard it. He had to ensure that knowledge was shared, preserved, and respected. He activated the ship's teaching modules next. Holographic classrooms appeared, filled with lessons from extinct civilizations. He guided alien students, human students, and curious beings from across the galaxy through these lessons. Complex mathematics, philosophy, history, and art were explained in simple, understandable ways. The flagship became a living academy. Hours turned into days, and the galaxy began to take notice. News of Ryan's achievements spread from system to system. Humans who had once been dismissed as small, weak, or irrelevant were now respected. Scholars sought human guidance. Explorers requested human collaboration. Even leaders of great alien empires reached out, acknowledging the value of curiosity and ingenuity. Ryan realized something profound. Humans had never been the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced. But they had something else: adaptability, creativity, and courage to explore the unknown. The flagship was proof of that truth. One evening, as the artificial stars of the observation deck reflected across the glassy hull, Ryan activated a personal chamber. He floated in zero gravity, surrounded by holographic records of civilizations long gone. He traced the patterns of their histories, learning lessons that no history book on Earth could have taught. "You see, humans," the AI said softly. Even when small, you find ways to grow, to thrive, to shine. Ryan smiled. He understood now why the flagship had been abandoned for centuries. It was waiting, not for a machine, not for an alien species, but for someone who could think beyond fear, beyond rules, beyond the expected. It had been waiting for a human. He decided to take a bold step. Using the flagship's navigation system, he plotted a course to visit planets that had been lost to time. With the ship's energy systems, he could illuminate worlds that had been forgotten, preserving their knowledge and cultures. Aliens and humans joined him on these journeys. Together, they explored abandoned colonies, floating libraries, and derelict research stations. Each discovery was a testament to human courage and ingenuity, and each visitor left with a renewed respect for humanity. Back on the flagship, Ryan curated exhibitions, translated archives, and even began creating new inventions inspired by ancient designs. The ship was no longer abandoned. It was alive with learning, exploration, and creativity. The doubters were silenced, not by force, but by proof. One human had taken what others feared and transformed it into something extraordinary. The galaxy watched, learning that intelligence, curiosity, and creativity were more powerful than fear or prejudice. Ryan reflected on the journey. He had bought the flagship for 3 credits, a trivial sum in the eyes of the galaxy, yet it had become a stage for humanity's greatest qualities. Humans were explorers, creators, and innovators. They could adapt, imagine, and inspire. The flagship pulsed gently beneath him, as if acknowledging his thoughts. Energy flowed, systems hummed, and lights glimmered across the vast corridors. It was alive, not in the way humans or aliens were alive, but in a higher sense. It was alive with history, with learning, and with the future. Ryan stood on the bridge once more, gazing at the stars. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of discovery. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. Now the galaxy would never make that mistake again. The AI spoke one final time that evening, its voice calm and proud. You have proven humans are capable beyond expectation. Perhaps this is your role, to explore, to preserve, to create, to inspire. Ryan smiled, looking out at the endless stars. Maybe so, he said softly. Maybe so. He knew the journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and wonders yet to be discovered. But humanity had proven itself. Through curiosity, ingenuity, and courage, a single human had awakened an abandoned flagship, and in doing so, elevated all of humanity. The observers returned to their home systems, carrying stories of Ryan Tavak and his flagship. Scholars, leaders, and explorers would talk about it for cycles to come. Humans had not conquered through force. They had conquered through intelligence, creativity, and determination. And somewhere in the silent stretches of space, the flagship pulsed with life, awaiting the next step, the next discovery, and the next human mind ready to unlock the wonders of the galaxy. Ryan Tavak had silenced every doubter, not with power, not with weapons, but with the very essence of what made humans remarkable, their curiosity, their courage, and their imagination. The galaxy had seen it now. Humans were different. Humans were capable. Humans could shine. And as the flagship glided silently through the stars, Ryan knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of humanity's true journey.